Bill Ayers and his wife, Bernadine Dohrn, in the 1960s and 70s were radicals, members of the Weather Underground, an anti-Vietnam War group that bombed federal buildings, including the U.S. Capitol and the Pentagon. On the run for years, the case against them was thrown out due to illegal wiretaps and prosecutor misconduct. Ayers has never repented and has said as late as 2001 he wished he had done more to stop the war. Barack Obama confirmed during a primary debate that he knew Ayers and, when pressed, said they served on a charitable foundation board together, and Obama condemned Ayers' support of violence. But the relationship between Obama and Ayers went much deeper, ran much longer, and was much more political than Obama said. One place their paths repeatedly crossed, according to a CNN review of board minutes and other records, was Chicago's Annenberg Challenge Project, where a $50 million grant from the Annenberg Foundation matched locally raised funds to improve schools. According to participants and project records, Bill Ayers fought to bring the Annenberg grant to Chicago. Barack Obama was recruited as its chair. For 7 years, Bill Ayers and Obama, among many others, worked on funding for education projects, including some experiments supported by Ayers. Stanley Kurtz, a conservative researcher for the Ethics and Public Policy Center, has also been reviewing the recently released records of Chicago's Annenberg Challenge.
Instead of giving money directly to schools, they gave money to what they called external partners. And these external partners were often pretty radical community organizer groups.
And the board gave hundreds of thousands of dollars to Bill Ayers' Small Schools Project, promoting alternative education like the Peace School, with a curriculum centered around a United Nations theme, and another school where the focus was African American studies.
And this was directly funded by Annenberg?
Oh, yes.
Under Obama's chairmanship?
Oh, yes, and the specific job of the board of directors was to give out the money.
While continuing work on the Annenberg Challenge, Barack Obama and Bill Ayers also served together on a second charitable foundation, the Woods Fund. Among its recipients, Jeremiah Wright's Trinity United Church, where Obama attended, and a Children and Family Justice Center where Ayers' wife worked. State Senator Alice Palmer introduced the young Obama as her political heir apparent. Where was that introduction made? At the home of the 60s radicals, Bill Ayers and Bernadine Dohrn. The Obama campaign again says it is just a coincidence.
For a guy who's already authored 2 memoirs, he's not exactly an open book. And where other candidates have to explain themselves in their records, Senator Obama seems to think he's above all that.
Well, you know, the first time you brought up Ayers to me, a year ago, you're right, I really didn't see it as more than just guilt by association, that they'd spoken together, a couple of boards, served together, but nothing really deep. But I was wrong and you were right. The documents that were just released last week by the University of Illinois, which didn't get a lot of attention, first because it's the mainstream media and they don't cover that stuff, but also because it was the time of the fiscal meltdown. But they really show a very close relationship. What happened was that William Ayers has this philosophy of education, which is it should be devoted to radicalizing students. So he applied to the Annenberg Foundation for a grant.
Hey, Dick, by the way, I want everyone to know that was from a Chicago magazine. What you see up there on your screen of Bill Ayers just a few years ago stomping on the American flag, again reiterating he didn't regret the bombing in that Chicago magazine piece. Go ahead.
But let's pay attention to the closeness of the relationship between Ayers and Obama. Ayers got $50 million from the Annenberg Fund to use for education in Chicago, the Chicago Annenberg Challenge, CAC. It was Ayers who applied for the grant. It was Ayers who got the money. And then he chose Obama to pass the money out. And for 5 years, Obama distributed $60 million a year to education in Chicago, and it didn't go to schools. What it went to was extremist community groups like ACORN and other really left-wing groups that were called external partners of schools. And their job was to infuse the students with radical ideology. So you can't put, this is no longer an arm's-length relationship between Ayers and Obama.
But we need to remind our audience, Obama started his political career in the home of William Ayers. You know, Obama blurbed his book.
His very first meeting for his Senate race was
in
not
his
just
house.
William Ayers, Bernadette Dohrn as well, his
Bernadine,
wife.
yeah.
Bernadine. But you're talking about the equivalent of having a close relationship with Osama bin Laden. I mean, this guy bombed the Capitol. He bombed the Pentagon. He bombed police headquarters. The only reason he's not in prison right now is that there were wiretap evidence against him that was inadmissible. And he got off on that technicality.
Who is Barack Obama? He says our troops in Afghanistan are
just air raiding villages and killing civilians.
How dishonorable. Congressional liberals voted repeatedly to cut off funding to our active troops, increasing the risk on their lives. How dangerous.
Just 29 days away from the election, and the New York Times has finally caught up to us and acknowledged the Barack Obama-William Ayers connection. Now, Ayers headed the radical Weather Underground group in the late 60s, and they summed up their philosophy as, quote, to kill all the rich people, to break up their cars and apartments, bring the revolution home, kill your parents. That's where it's really at. Joining us now, former Virginia GOP chair Kate Obenshain, former Clinton counsel Lanny Davis, and National Review White House correspondent Byron York is with us. Lanny, you were very open and very honest on this program and in some of the things that you wrote about you don't believe Barack Obama was honest. You don't trust his judgment as it relates to getting the full story on Jeremiah Wright. Do you have a problem? Do you have a problem with somebody?
Barack Obama wasn't honest, Sean, so let's just correct that. But I find Mr. Ayers' past background repulsive and disgusting, and why anybody legitimate would encourage him without having shown contrition. Well, I was an anti-war protester and an anti-war opponent in the 60s, and we considered William Ayers and people of his ilk more contributing to the violence in our society than anybody else.
Barack Obama's answer, Kate, is that I was 8 years old, but yet his campaign had previously said that they were friendly. When he said he didn't know, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered here. But the bottom line is about judgment. If a guy says on September 11, 2001 of all days, I don't regret bombing the Pentagon and Capitol, I wish we'd done more, the question I have for Barack Obama that I think he needs to answer, why were you friends with him? Why did you sit on a board with him? Why did you give speeches with him? Why did you help fund his why did you help fund each other's campaigns and endeavors?
You know, I was a little suspicious about this strategy until today, seeing the reaction of the Obama campaign. They really went ballistic over this.
They're flipping out.
They are flipping out, but by this afternoon, Barack Obama hardly knows the guy. That was a striking commentary. But look, this is not, I have to agree with Dick Morris. What the New York Times is papering over here is that Barack Obama and Bill Ayers actually sat together, and Obama gave funds to all of William Ayers' educational programs. That's a significant thing. These were not just math and science programs. These were programs to radicalize Chicago school kids. And you notice Barack Obama never talks about this. This is his only executive experience. This is significant.
And this is important, Byron, because the one time that he was asked in that debate that George Stephanopoulos was moderating, and he was accused of stealing my question, and for the New York Times to wait 21 months of the campaign to get into the issue is disgraceful. But they're not. Obama's saying he was 8 years old when he did this. I've said they're despicable. Does not take away from the judgment. The guy's still unrepentant about it, and their relationship is far deeper than what the New York Times pointed out, and National Review has been in the front lines of pointing that out, specifically you and Stanley Kurtz and others.
People have had to dig for it, in part because Obama won't talk about it. The Times says that Obama has, quote, played down his relationship with Ayers, and there's no doubt he hasn't said very much at all. He said of Ayers one time he was a guy who lived in the neighborhood. David Axelrod, Obama's top advisor, said that they were certainly friendly, but today he said that in 1995, when Ayers held this event at his home for Obama, that Obama didn't know about the past. And we should remember here that Bill Ayers has never said a word about this. He is not accepting interviews, refusing to say anything in this campaign about his relationship.
You said that. What does he plan for America? Who is the real Barack Obama? But my friends, you ask such questions, and all you get in response is another angry barrage of insults.